How has that happened? How in the name of God Almighty above has that happened? Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Crystal Palace 2 now. Before we actually get into analysing this game, let me give you a bit of context to this result. Brighton, 25 shots. 25 shots. Crystal Palace, 3 shots, 2 on target, 2 goals, and somehow have managed to house a win here. I mean, it is the biggest smash and grab you will probably ever see, not only this season, but in probably Premier League history, if I'm honest, because, yeah, honestly, I don't know how Crystal Palace have managed to take 3 points, but that is, of course, the game we are going to be analysing for you guys tonight, so, yeah, let's get straight into it. So, yeah, starting off in terms of the lineups, I mean, Brighton missing both their wing-backs in Tarek Lamptey and Solly March, which, of course, was a massive miss for them, and always is going to be, so they did decide to go for a little bit of a 4-1-3-2, rather than that 3-at-the-back system that Graham Potter does tend to favour, and in terms of Crystal Palace, of course, missing Wilfried Zaha, as we all knew and as we all expected, and yeah, an absolutely gargantuan miss for them, and I've said multiple times on this channel, they're just a completely different outfit whatsoever with Wilfried Zaha. They have no creativity, no real spark going forward whatsoever without Wilfried Zaha, and obviously it was going to be very, very difficult from the get-go in that absence of Wilfried Zaha in this Crystal Palace team. But yeah, if we start off firstly analysing Brighton's overall performance, I mean, for, 90 plus minutes, it looked like there was only one team going to win that, and that was going to be Brighton and Hove Albion, because for the entire 90 minutes, I mean, they absolutely dominated the game. It was like a training drill for Brighton, really, because nearly every time Crystal Palace actually, got to the halfway line, Brighton were kind of mopping it up, the likes of Basuma and, Dunk and Ben White, etc. were just mopping up the ball, and Brighton just kept going forward, kept just absolutely pelting the Crystal Palace penalty area and Crystal Palace's goal with just shots galore, if I'm honest, and it was just an absolutely mental game. And overall, if you watched this game 90 minutes and took away the 3 goals, you would think that Brighton probably stuck 5 or 6 past Crystal Palace with no reply. And I think, especially in the absence of Wilfried Zaha, because as we all know, Crystal Palace, they're just a counter-attacking team if I've ever seen one, and yeah, especially without Wilfried Zaha, they had to obviously counter-attack, and yeah, I think that Brighton were always going to dominate the game, especially with the absence of Wilfried Zaha, as I said, and it was just about whether or not they could make a count, which of course, in the end, you could argue they didn't. Well, not really arguable, because they lost the game in the end. And there is this stigma with Brighton recently that they pass it a lot, they pass it around nicely, the patterns of play are nice, they get into the box, and then they just, themselves, they can't score, they very rarely hit the back of the net. It's just true, I have to say, and to be honest, I really do like Brighton, I really do like Graham Potter and the philosophy he's tried to implement on this Brighton team. I think they're very entertaining to watch in terms of, the patterns of play. As I said, they pass around really nicely, and they create an obscene amount of chances, as we've seen tonight, that just aren't clinical enough, and that's why I said in January, I think that Brighton, they need to get a striker in. I really like Neil Maupay, but he's just not going to score 10 to 15 goals. That is required to be a mid-table side, and I think that is definitely what Brighton need to address in the summer, because yeah, as I just said there, they create an absolutely absurd amount of chances. It's just that, they don't really score enough, and their expected goals ratio is just, it's one of the best in the league, I'd say. But yeah, they beat most teams in terms of their expected goals ratio. It's just that they never really tend to get the ball into the back of net nearly enough as they should do, and that is their main problem, and that was once again very evident tonight. But yeah, the patterns of play for Brighton, as I said, were really nice. I think they played it around really nicely, and that was very evident. I think Pascal Gross once again was really, really good. I really like Pascal Gross, and I think he very much goes under the radar. He's a prominent figure in every attack nearly that Brighton have, a very creative player, not only that, but with a work ethic as well to his game. So yeah, I really do like Pascal Gross. Leandro Trossard I really like as well. Got that bit of pace, bit of trickery, bit of invention to him, and yeah, I think every team definitely needs that. And overall, I think that there was definitely positive spells for Brighton today, because I think they absolutely, as we saw by the stats at the start of this video, and if any of you guys watched this game, Brighton absolutely dominated the entire game. But of course, Crystal Palace, not much really you could say other than the fact that they just sat back and prayed for an obvious opportunity to counter, and boy did they get that. And to be honest, I was kind of frustrated, and I was actually going to set the tone for this video that I was actually really annoyed with Crystal Palace and Roy Hodgson's outlook on this game, because I think in the first half they actually did okay. They did a little bit to try and attack or Brighton, I should say. Seems like Roy Hodgson at halftime though did tell him to just shut up shop and just play for a point, which I really didn't like, because yes, Brighton created a lot of chances, but I think that they created a lot of chances anyway, so I would have liked to see Palace try and go for it a little bit and try and create something themselves, because I don't think much would have changed in the game if Palace had just done that and showed a little bit of bravery, which really did annoy me. But in the end, of course, who am I to talk, because Roy Hodgson did in fact get it spot on, because of the fact they did win 2-1. And yeah, as I said, Palace, they normally are a counter-attacking team, they normally are a team that like to hit teams on the counter-attack and sit that bit deeper, and that was going to be made even more evident with the absence of Wilfried Zaha, as I keep saying, because Palace couldn't really afford to, counter as much as they would have liked to, because Zaha is their main threat on the counter-attack with his pace and with his clinical edge. And I think tonight, if they were going to win the game, which they did, they had to be clinical, and boy boy were they clinical, because of course 2 shots on target and they scored them both. Of course the first one from Jean-Philippe Mateta in the first half, out of absolutely nowhere, because Brighton at that stage were absolutely dominating the game like they did for the whole 90 minutes of course, but a great ball down the line from Kiate. Ayew busts his absolute gut to get down the line, and I think Jordan Ayew actually was Crystal Palace's best player. His work rate was absolutely second to none, and that's one thing I really do like about Jordan Ayew, is that he absolutely gives 100% in every single game. Put the ball into the box, and Jean-Philippe Mateta with his first goal for Crystal Palace, his first goal in English football, a very exquisite flick into the bottom corner of the net, and yeah, Crystal Palace with an absolutely shock lead massively against the run of play. And yeah, Brighton's pressure did pay off early on in the second half, because as I said, I think Crystal Palace kind of shut up shop in the second half, and Brighton just, you know, kept pressing, and it did pay off with Joel Veltman's goal. They did get a little bit of luck in the end, but I think it was a fantastic finish from a centre-back, a natural centre-back, on his weaker left foot as well. So yeah, really good finish for him, and you didn't even see Brighton go and celebrate that goal either. They went straight back to the halfway line to try and get a second goal, which I think definitely showed Brighton's intent in this game overall. And then in the 95th minute of the game, the last minute of the prospective injury time, and Jordan Ayew has the ball in the middle of the park. He did look like, you know, he was kind of hesitant to go forward. He was like, you know, should I go forward? But then in the end he just decided, you know what, screw it, we'll go forward. Gives the ball down the line to Andros Townsend, who whips in the ball, and Benteke with an absolutely exquisite volley, brilliant technique on the volley, to just absolutely stun Brighton and send them into absolute shock mode, which is just, it was just absolute mad scenes at the end. But yeah, another thing I was actually going to say as well, because bear in mind, I was planning on making this video with a 1-1 draw in mind, and I was going to mainly be negative about Crystal Palace because of the way they did play, and because of the fact that Brighton did completely and utterly dominate the game. But Crystal Palace, I was going to say, aren't really safe from relegation, because I purely still do believe, even with them winning this match, if Wilfried Zaha was to pick up an injury, or if this injury is, you know, more serious than we originally did think, I think Crystal Palace could really struggle, because we saw it last weekend in that 3-0 defeat against Burnley at Selhurst Park. They were really poor, and to be honest, I think this was a flash in the pan for Crystal Palace in terms of, you know, winning a game without Wilfried Zaha, because I think they would very much struggle to win games without Wilfried Zaha, and that is why in my Premier League predictions at the start of the season, you will see I did predict Crystal Palace to go down, but that was purely with the intention that I did think that Crystal Palace wouldn't be able to hang on to Wilfried Zaha, and I purely do believe if Zaha had left in the summer, I think Palace would really be struggling around the relegation zone this season. But yeah, that result does move Crystal Palace into 13th place in the Premier League, once again above Southampton, and Brighton once again pondering above the relegation zone, only now 4 points between them and Fulham, and only 1 between them and Newcastle. So Brighton, you know, even though they've gone 6 or something on games unbeaten in the last 6 Premier League games, still not safe by any stretch of imagination, and that is why I think that they'll be absolutely kicking themselves that they didn't manage to get 3 points, let alone 1 point today, if I'm honest. But yeah, I think that is where we're going to leave this video. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like. 20 likes as per usual will be massively appreciated by myself on this channel, and also if you could subscribe to the channel as well if you are new, that would also be massively appreciated by myself, because we are now looking at 1,500 subscribers on this channel as soon as we possibly can.